we're getting to the really super duper magic pocket here. I have got all my pieces at the ready. The first thing to do is to sew the pocket onto this. This is slightly inner pocket, if you will. It turns around like this and then lies on the back, and it will fit this side piece perfectly. Now, okay, let's put this back out and do the same on the other side. Pin them into place. There we go. This pocket is really simple and it looks so good. There's such a wonderful trick that I can't wait to show you. Stitch it together. 1 centimeter seam allowance as always. It's never different. Then you iron your seams apart. So it's nice and flat. That's really quite important for this technique. And we have this done on both sides. And then when they are turned in, it'll look really perfect. Here I've done one pocket just to demonstrate to you. And now we're going to do exactly that. Now, how did I do that? It's a really simple trick. Have the seam allowances to either side. It's open underneath it. And then you put this weird looking triangle piece over the top. Make sure that it lines up with the pattern that you were doing, and then you just have to fold it open, and where you have your crease, that is where we're going to sew. We're going to secure it with pins which are vertical to the seam, and then we're going to turn the whole thing over so you're stitching from the underside because you can see what you're doing. So turn it over. Get yourself your tape measure and measure down from the top where you want the pocket to start. 3 centimeters is a good measurement, so go for that. And then from the top, I'm equally coming up 3 centimeters. There we go. And we're stitching in the ditch to the point that we've just marked, and from the other point we've marked down to the end of the seam. Lock in your stitches. There you go, lock them in here again. Make sure that the stitch length is quite small, 2.5. Move it along to the lower part here. Do the same again. Fabulous. Now it's sewn in, the magic begins, because now we can fold over this piece and we can also fold back the inner pocket. That's magic, isn't it? That's really, really cool. It's very, very simple. And the next step now is to just top stitch around it so it looks like a properly inserted pocket. We want to make sure that that top stitching is in the same place. So fold over the other side, whichever you did first, and then see that both are exactly the same. And then I can go to my sewing machine and stitch all the way around. Make sure that your stitch length has been made longer. That means about 3.5, if not 4. It looks very homemade if it's a small stitch. You can count your stitches as well and go the same amount of stitches from the center of the seam to both sides, and that way you'll get this absolutely perfect and it looks so good. So you're coming down to the lower end here, remove your pin, stitch across. Always remember that you have to have the needle down when you're turning so that you don't get wibbly wobbly top stitching. Secure your stitches and there you go, perfect pocket. The next step is to take the pocket lining and we're going to put that just plainly on the pocket we've just stitched. Some people actually like to stitch all the way through, so they would now overlock this whole thing and then they would stitch it through all 3 layers. I prefer not to do that. I want my pocket loose, so I'm again inserting pins vertical to the seam line and then I'm just going to stitch it with a 1 centimeter seam allowance. You can mark it for yourself if you like with a fabric pen. That will disappear afterwards. Don't use felt tips. And then we're going to stitch this again, 1 centimeter seam allowance and overlock it, and basically that is the pocket done. But one thing, now Where we have the little weird looking triangle that we've just sewn in, it's a little bit loose all the way to the side seam. To secure that and make sure it doesn't move and doesn't get baggy after a while, we can secure it along the line that I've just pointed through here. That is the line of the top stitching. And what we're going to do is we're going to stitch right next to it from the very top all the way down. It doesn't have to be pretty, it doesn't have to look nice, we just want to secure it, and that way it can't move anywhere. Again, stitch length 2.5. There you go, line it up with the center of your presser foot all the way up. Beautiful. That's it. Magic pocket inserted onto